All right, our second speaker is Brandon Carrasco. The title of his speech is Your End of the Boat is Sinking. Your End of the Boat is Sinking, Brandon Carrasco.
Two fishermen sitting in a rowboat far out in the water. One looks across to the other and says, "Your end of the boat is sinking." How many times have we failed to realize that if someone else's end of the boat is sinking, ours is attached to it? I once found myself in a situation where I felt like my end of the boat was sinking. Have you ever flooded an apartment? I found myself on a wet, slippery floor, ankle deep in water, using a pitcher from my kitchen to bail water out the front door of my apartment. It all started innocently enough. I was trying to recover a lost item from behind my washing machine. I shut the water off, or so I thought, and I disconnected the hose from the back. As water rushed out everywhere, I tried desperately to find some way to turn that broken faucet knob all the way. I didn't have any tools. I couldn't connect the hose back. And so that panic turned into, or that feeling turned into panic as I realized I couldn't fix this. I ran across the courtyard of the apartment complex to an apartment where a member of the office staff lived. I banged on her door. It was early on a Sunday morning. A sleepy woman in a bathrobe opened the door. She looked confused that I was soaked and afraid. She told me she would call maintenance, but it would be a while before they came. So I ran back to my apartment, now sloshing through the carpet as I re-entered my apartment. And I did the only thing I could. I continued bailing water. The splashing in the rocks outside drew the attention of my upstairs neighbor. Scott, a tall young man, came down and he immediately started helping me. After a few minutes and a little explanation, he ran back upstairs and he came back with a simple pair of pliers. He shut the water off immediately. Maintenance finally got there. We finished clearing all the water out. No serious permanent damage was sustained. Just had to dry the carpet for a few days. That morning, my end of the boat was sinking. And Scott didn't just sit back. He jumped in and he lent a hand, and he solved my problem with that simple pair of pliers. About the same point in history, 14 years ago or so, a single mom in Ohio found herself recently separated and on her way to being divorced. Her husband said he didn't want to be married anymore. He was in the Air Force and asked to be stationed far away in Korea for the next 2 years. There were tough times ahead for her with a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 7-month-old. She had little in the way of physical belongings. Her income consisted of child support and a small alimony payment. That single mom had a friend out here in New Mexico named Gidget. And Gidget invited her to come out and have a chance to get back on her feet and start over again. On faith, that mom packed up her 3 kids and whatever she could fit in a minivan and came out west. She got an apartment. Gidget and some friends from church helped to furnish that apartment with what they could offer: an old couch, a well-worn kitchen table, a used crib. And there was emotional support needed. Gidget was there for her. Some other new friends that understood and would listen were there through that pain. I met that single mom. We became friends. Eventually, we started dating. Our first date was the weekend after Thanksgiving. Oh, and we had a blast, and time flew, and Christmas was there in a blink of an eye. And I was sitting in her apartment helping to wrap a few presents for the kids on Christmas Eve when there was a knock at the door at 11 o'clock at night. And I was concerned, especially when I heard footsteps running down the stairs. But those feelings of concern changed into feelings of gratitude and humility as we opened that door and we saw the box with some gifts for each kid and some food to help make Christmas a little more special for their family. I don't know who left that there, but what I knew in that moment was that there were a lot of people watching out for that mom. Was that all of that time, while her end of the boat was sinking, there were a lot of people helping her to bail water out of that boat. I married Gretchen a year later, and she's never forgotten that generosity. She's one of the most kind and giving people that you'll ever meet. She's helped other moms in similar situations. She's given baby clothes and furniture and car seats. She's been there to listen and to cry with people in similar situations. And what she knows is that we are never alone in our metaphorical boat. So we all live in the same world. We have to be good stewards of that together. We all live in the same community, and we have to help work together to make things better. Your end of the boat is sinking doesn't work here. We live in a world of extremes. The left side of the aisle, the right side of the aisle. School shootings and terror attacks are almost commonplace. The media competes for attention. Social media amplifies our ability to point fingers at each other. And it all makes us forget that we're in the same boat together. That if your end of the boat is sinking, then mine is right behind it. And so the solution lies with the relationships that we have with each other. The relationships that we have with a neighbor, with a friend who's hurting, with our family, with our coworkers, with the people that are sitting in front of you today. That's where it starts. And if we will all remember that if your end of the boat is sinking and mine is attached, then maybe we will all lend a hand and help to bail some water. And we will all keep it afloat. And we will all arrive at our destination safely. And we will all be better for it. Adam Conley.